Hello everyone, this is Fabrizio from ProHealthyx, and today we have another exciting video on nutrition. Specifically, we will discuss omega fatty acids. We will look at the difference between omega-3, omega-6 and omega-9 fatty acids. We will look at their main biological role, and we will answer the question, do we need to supplement omega fatty acids on a daily basis? And if yes, what to supplement and how much we need to supplement with. So without any further introduction, let's talk about nutrition. By the way, if you're new to this channel, please do subscribe to this channel, turn the notification bell on so that you get notified when a new video is coming online. And if you like this video, please thumb up. You will help me a lot in growing this new channel. Now, back to the omega fatty acids. First of all, they are all important, that they all have a certain biological role. So they are needed for our health, for a normal and balanced nutrition. Now, what people normally get wrong is the amount of the different fatty acids that we intake on a daily basis, especially the ratio between omega-3, omega-6 and omega-9 that is the most suitable for a balanced nutrition. Why? Because getting the balance wrong can induce inflammations and chronic diseases. But we will dig into that in a minute. Now, first of all, from a chemical standpoint, let's say omega fatty acids are unsaturated fatty acids. Specifically, omega-3 and omega-6 are polyunsaturated fatty acids, whereas omega-9 are monounsaturated fatty acids. Having said that, let's try to understand the difference. We're going to start from omega-3 fatty acids. Why? Because they are the most discussed, the most available, and the one people talk about the most as well. So I think it makes sense to understand first what they are, what is the biological role, and what we can do with this information. So first of all, omega-3 fatty acids are essential fatty acids. This means that the body cannot produce omega-3 fatty acids. Therefore, we need to intake these omega-3 fatty acids through nutrition on a daily basis. Now, there are different types from a chemical standpoint, omega-3 fatty acids, but there are three main omega-3 fatty acids that are the most studied and the most discussed, and actually the one that are the most supplemented. So one is called EPA, and you will see the chemical name on screen. Now, EPA is a very important omega fatty acid. Why? Because in our body is converted and is actually used to produce eicosanoids, and these eicosanoids produced from the omega-3 EPA fatty acids have an anti-inflammatory properties, and there's been studies shown that they could also improve depression. So, but let's say the main part of this EPA is the inflammatory properties. Then we have the DHA. DHA is actually very interesting because our brain, 8% in weight of our brain is made out of DHA. Therefore, DHA is very much involved in brain health, and is very much involved in anything that has to do with our brain function. And then we have the alpha-linoleic acid, ALA, and this is actually the basic, I would say, of the omega-3 fatty acids that is converted in our body in EPA and DHA. However, the conversion is not very efficient. This is why it is recommended to use omega supplements that are high in EPA and DHA rather than high in alpha-linoleic acid. Nevertheless, alpha-linoleic acid has a lot of benefits. It's good for our heart, it's good for our immune system, and it's good for our nervous system. Now, when it comes to the intake, I mean, the amount of omega-3 fatty acids that are suggested to be taken depends on the person, and they're variable from person to person, whether you are a healthy person, or maybe you do a very much into sport, you're a professional sport, or you have a certain disease. Nevertheless, a typical recommended dosage of omega-3 fatty acids ranges between the 250 and 300 milligrams of DHA plus EPA, but there are certain cases, certain studies showing that actually much higher level supplementation is needed. It can go up to 1.5 grams of for men, and 1.1 grams for women above the 19 years old. And again, I'm talking about the amount of EPA plus DHA. Now, when it comes to food, where do we find omega-3 fatty acids? One of the main sources of omega-3 fatty acids are animal-based, and they are oily fish. So we can think about salmon, sardines, mackerels. So these are the fish that contains a very high amount of omega-3 fatty acid, especially DHA and EPA. However, we also find DHA in nuts and seeds. For instance, to mention some nuts very rich in omega-3 fatty acids, we have walnuts, and from the seeds we have flax seeds. However, be aware that both walnuts and flax seeds are also rich in omega-6 fatty acids. Therefore, consumption should be somewhat controlled, and I will explain you why too much omega-6 is not good for your health. Now, as I just introduced, let's talk about omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 fatty acids are also essential fatty acids. That means that the body cannot produce omega-6 fatty acids, and therefore we need to intake them through our diet. Now, commonly, omega-6 fatty acids are mainly used for energy purposes. However, one of the most common omega-6 fatty acids, which is called linoleic acid, is mainly converted in another fatty acid that is called arachidonic acid. Now, this arachidonic acid in our body can produce eicosanoids. Remember that eicosanoids can also be produced from omega-3 EPA fatty acids. However, these eicosanoids have a different function because the eicosanoids that are produced from the omega-3 fatty acids have an anti-inflammatory effect, whereas the eicosanoids that are produced from arachidonic acid have a pro-inflammatory effect. What does it mean? This means that, for instance, if you injure yourself during sport, you strain a muscle, you create a local inflammation. And this local inflammation actually can happen. Why? Because from the linoleic acid, from arachidonic acid, eicosanoids create this pro-inflammation effect, and therefore the body knows that you have an inflammation going on and there is some damage to be repaired. So actually it's an important mechanism. If you look at the the immune system, if you get an infection, this also creates an inflammation. So the body knows that there is something that needs to be repaired, or that needs to be fixed, or the body needs to work on. So this is actually a good thing. However, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So if we intake too much omega-6 and we are prone to produce too much eicosanoids from arachidonic acid, this could cause chronic inflammations and chronic diseases. Therefore, too much omega-6 is not a good thing. Now, this sets an important ground when it comes to how much omega-6 to consume. Now, at the beginning of the video, I was saying that most of the time what people got wrong is the amounts of the different omega fatty acids that needs to be introduced in our diet. Now, when it comes to the ratio omega-6 to omega-3, the advice, let's say, for a balanced nutrition, for a balanced diet, is 1-to-1. So the amount of omega-6 that you consume should be equal to the amount of omega-3 that you consume. Sometimes, depending on the report that you read, or the different studies and clinical studies, also a ratio 4:1 is also considered a balanced ratio. So that means omega-6, omega-3, and a ratio 4:1. However, if you look at the typical Western diet, the ratio omega-6, omega-3 is a 15-to-1 or even 17-to-1. Therefore, it is not a surprise that a lot of chronic diseases in chronic inflammations caused by the higher intake of omega-6 fatty acids occur. Now, what are the food that contains, let's say, where do we find the omega-6 fatty acids? Well, the main source of omega-6 fatty acids are refined vegetable oils in general. So anytime that you eat, let's say, a fried food in a fast food, or highly processed food, or you buy something already pre-cooked, there is a high chance that this food is stuffed with refined vegetable oils, therefore exposing you to very high levels of omega-6 fatty acids. So already from here, you do understand why, when it comes to balanced nutrition, there is always the advice to reduce the amount of fast food, reduce the amount of highly processed food, reduce the amount of pizzas that you eat, reduce the amount of oils that you eat. The other omega fatty acid I would like to discuss with you is the omega-9 fatty acid. Remember, the omega-9 fatty acids are monounsaturated fatty acids, and they are not strictly essential in the sense that the body can produce omega-9 fatty acids, maybe not at the amount that we would need, but still the body can make omega-9 fatty acids. Now, omega-9 fatty acids have shown to have a lot of benefits. Could have benefits when it comes to insulin resistance, have a lot of benefits on cardiovascular diseases, have also anti-inflammatory effects. So they are not as potent as omega-3 fatty acids, but they do play a very important role into a balanced and healthy nutrition. Now, one of the most common omega-9 fatty acid is oleic acid. Where do we find oleic acid? Clearly in olive oil that contains up to 83% of oleic acid. Avocados, about 60% of oleic acid. Another great source of oleic acid is macadamia nuts. By the way, I will have a different video where we will discuss the nutritional values of nuts and how to choose the right nuts that suits actually your health needs. This brings us to the final part of this video. What about supplementation? Well, you have already learned that omega-9 fatty acids can be produced by our body. And by the way, you can get a lot of omega-9 fatty acids from a very healthy diet by introducing olive oil, avocados, and some nuts that are very rich in omega-9 fatty acids. So do you need to buy omega-9 fatty acid supplementation? I would say no, because your diet can fulfill your needs of omega-9 fatty acids. What about omega-6 fatty acids? Well, you just learned, we just discussed that actually our diets tend to be too rich in omega-6 fatty acids. So I would not supplement omega-6 fatty acids. What about omega-3? Yes, omega-3 have a lot of benefits, as we learned before. So unless you eat really a lot of fish, and it is difficult sometimes to reach your level, your daily need of omega-3 fatty acids. So if I was to recommend a supplementation, yes, I would recommend omega-3 fatty acids. But of course, talk to your doctor before you attempt any supplementation on your own. And when it comes, by the way, to omega-3 supplementation, please read the label. Why? Because sometimes, you know, in the bottle in the front, you have 1,000 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids. But sometimes, if you read the label, it's actually the majority of this 1,000 milligram is alpha-linoleic acid, which is something that you don't want. Why? Because you remember that alpha-linoleic acid will be converted into EPA and DHA at a low rate. So what you want to look for is a high quality omega-3 supplement that contains high dosages of EPA and DHA. And again, how much of omega-3 to supplement with, talk to your doctor about it, read some literature, read some references, reliable references, and try to stay within the margin. And again, ideally you should have between 200, 250, 300 milligrams of EPA plus DHA. In some cases, even going beyond, up to 1.5 gram for men and 1.1 gram for women is also advised. So this wraps up my video, and I hope you found this useful. And if you like the video, please thumb up. Please comment below if you have any questions. If there is any topic you would like me to cover, please write it below. I will read all your comments and I will try to reply all your comments as well. And until next video, stay healthy and thank you.